Hello, this is the History of the Carolingian Empire Part 1, Formation and Papal Authority. We will deal with the formation of the Carolingian Empire, but before we talk about that, we have to talk about their predecessors, the Merovingians. The Merovingians were a dynasty of the Frankish kingdom that ruled the majority of Western Europe for nearly 300 years, from the 5th to the 8th century. Its great leader, Clovis, who ruled from 509 to 511, converted to Christianity, which converted the whole kingdom. The Merovingians had a hereditary form of leadership. The king of the Merovingians split his empire amongst his sons. This means that in a few generations there are many Frankish empires under the Merovingian Dynasty. The Merovingians get their profit, as most empires do at the time, by pillaging their neighbors, even if that means pillaging their own family, other Merovingians. This can happen for a number of reasons. If those relatives did something perceived to be wrong, such as breaking an oath, then they might get a visit from a pillaging relative neighbor. A series of weakling kings comes after Clovis. Why they are weak is anyone's guess. It may have been because after each generation their territory grew more fractured because of their hereditary ideas of kingship. During the 6th century in the Merovingian Empire, a new official came to be known as the Major Domus, or Mayor of the Palace, or literally, Big Man of the House. He was the head of the household of the Frankish king, basically the right-hand man of the king. If anything was to be done around the kingdom, it was the Major Domus who did it. Most importantly, though, they were the war leaders. Late Merovingian armies are not led by the kings, they are led by the mayor of the palace. They grew to have the real power. As the kings got weaker, the mayors of the palace grew stronger. The late Merovingian king had nothing to do except to sit back on the throne and play with their long flowing hair, a staple of Merovingian kingship, while pretending to have power. Each of the Merovingian kings gets a few mayors of the palace. The office was initially established similar to a Roman office. Someone is appointed, and that person does it for their lifetime, and then someone else is appointed. By the time we get to the year 700, the office became hereditary. One of the most important families that have this office is known as the Carolingians. Historians call them the Carolingians because they tended to name their children Charles. In the latter period of the Merovingian dynasty, the Carolingians go a long way to dominate the office of mayor of the palace. One of the most famous is Charles Martel. His name means Charles the Hammerer. He is a great military leader known for his suppressing of internal revolt against the king and in his foreign wars. He is most famous for stopping the northern expansion of Islam. Muslim conquest had taken over Visigoth Spain in 711. During this time, the Muslim kingdom raided into Frankish territory across the Pyrenees Mountains. During the last of these raids in 732, Charles Martel defeated the Islamic force, and never again was there Islamic raiding north of the Pyrenees. Charles Martel is far richer than the Merovingian kings at this point. Richer means he has more land. The mayors of the palace have risen so far they are now superior to the Merovingian kings, but they are still not kings. To understand why, we need to look at Charles Martel's ancestor, Grimoald the Elder. He launched a coup against the Merovingian king. It was unsuccessful. The coup was unsuccessful because the Merovingians did not accept a king outside of their bloodline. Their idea of power came from a long-lasting tradition of heredity. Even though Grimoald was stronger, he could not get past that. So Charles Martel, the great war leader, cannot become king. For the up-and-coming Carolingian dynasty, the real question is, how do they become kings when they can't get past the problem of blood? The next Carolingian coup is more complex, and it actually works. Pepin III, or Pepin the Short, is Charles Martel's son. He becomes mayor of the palace in 741, and he's really good at his job. He dominates all opposition within the Frankish Empire. Pepin is also greatly ambitious. He wants to become king. His big chance comes with a shift in geopolitics in Italy. In the 6th century, much of Italy is taken over by a group called the Lombards. They are one of those ethnically identified armies that are crawling all over Europe within the first few centuries of the Western Roman collapse. One place that is hard to take is Ravenna, at one point the capital of the Western Roman Empire from 402 until its collapse, and then the capital of Ostrogoth Kingdom of Italy, founded by Odoacer in 476. It is then taken over by Justinian in 540, and is part of the Eastern Roman Empire, now safely called the Byzantine Empire. It is the seat of Byzantine control in this period. The primary ally to the Byzantines in Italy is the Bishop of Rome, now known as the Pope. Let's talk about the Pope. The Pope is not the dominating force known throughout the Middle Ages yet, but he's getting there. So why does the Pope have power at all? Why isn't the Bishop of Rome just another bishop? Bishops have a claim to authority that they see as legitimate. They have an idea of apostolic succession. Every bishop should be able to trace back through the generations to find an apostle. It is the idea that Christ makes apostles, apostles appoint successors, and the apostles or successors found bishoprics. So a bishop has inherited his power from an apostle who themselves get their power from Christ. The Bishop of Rome has a good argument in regards to apostolic succession. In fact, he has a double apostolicity. Peter, the head apostle, was their original founder, but Paul, who was also martyred in Rome, 2 for 1, you can't beat that. Because of this, the bishops of Rome have argued that they are better than other bishops. Even more brownie points are given because they are in the capital of the old Roman Empire, a civilization that is growing rapidly and with people's nostalgia. Now in the early Middle Ages, there is a large group of Christians that buy into this, but not everyone does. In the 5th through 7th centuries, we see some kings who do believe the Pope is the head of Christendom, and we see others who don't agree with this. The Merovingians are alright with the Pope, but they aren't exactly basing their church around him. So it looks like we have two ambitious people who both want something very much. The Pope wants to be the universal head of Christendom, and Pepin wants to be king of the Franks. Looks like a deal may be brewing. Here are the players. Pepin wants to be king of the Franks and get power away from the weak, but rightful, to the Merovingians at least, king, Childeric III. The Lombards are taking over Italy, and then we have the Pope and his protectors, the Byzantines, lined up against the Lombards. It all boils over in 751 when the city of Ravenna is finally taken by siege by the Lombards. The Lombard king kills the last exarch of Ravenna, the last Byzantine official there. The exarchate of Ravenna collapses. The Bishop of Rome is left dangerously exposed. His military protection is gone. He desperately needs a new protector. But who's the next big leader in the West? Militarily, at least? It's the mayor of the palace. And who is the strongest mayor of the palace? Why, it's little old Pepin the Short. So, the Pope needs protection from the Lombards, and Pepin needs a justification to be king. He needs something to undo the hereditary leadership of the Merovingian Dynasty. But how does one go about doing this? According to the Merovingians, kingship comes from the bloodline that dates back to an ancient legendary ancestor. But what if it doesn't come from there? What if kingship came from somewhere else? Well, according to the Royal Frankish Annals, a wonderful collection of propaganda disguised as historical fact, Pepin III goes to Pope Zachariah to ask if a king with no power can actually be king. Pope Zachary decides it's better to call Pepin king because he has the power. He uses his apostolic authority to make Pepin king of the Franks. But wait, where did the Pope get this power? God, maybe? Alright. Well, how many times has a Pope crowned a king before? Well, let's see. Absolutely 0. Christian Roman emperors didn't need anyone to crown them. Pope Zachary reached in his bag of tricks and did it for the first time. This is precedent. Kingship now comes from Christian channeling from God through the Pope. No Merovingian blood? No problem. You can't mess with God. Childeric III, the last Merovingian king, was sent to a monastery. Key idea here. Being sent to a monastery means he has to cut his hair. Merovingian kings don't get haircuts. That's why they are known as the Reges Craniti, or long-haired kings. So instead of killing Childeric, they strip him of his power and his symbol of power. This is a coup, plain and simple. But it's a coup endorsed by the Pope, and again, you don't mess with God. And now we have the Carolingian Dynasty of the Frankish Kingdom. Pepin III is the Frankish king, and the Pope has his military backing and greatly improved authority. And that's pretty much it. Well, one last note. Pepin has 2 sons, Carloman and Charles. I wonder if either of them will turn out to be good kings.